Hey there everyone, welcome back. So you're all commenting, asking me to go over my UFO experiences. Alright, well you got it. So far I've had 5 total experiences in my life with UFOs or lights in the sky or identified flying objects. I just want to quickly say I was going to edit and add video clips and images during when I talk just to try to give a visual, but it's going to take too long to do that. So you guys just use your imagination. And if any of you out there animators or anyone that wants to take this video afterwards, re-edit it, add videos and images, I'd really appreciate that. Would be really rad. So here's my first experience slash encounter with lights in the sky. So my first experience happened when I was about 19 years old. It was around 2008. I was actually looking into and researching a lot about aliens, UFOs, and stuff like that. I was going on YouTube, typing in like alien moon bases, Mars, like glass tunnels, UFO experiences, alien abductions, you name it. And my first experience, I was actually driving one of my old friends home, and I'm driving down the street, and all I see out of the corner of my eye towards the left is like this white light going up into the sky slowly. And all I thought of when I saw this light going up into the sky was that it was like a Roman candle or like a firework. You know how like a Roman candle or like fireworks kind of like shoot up into the sky slowly? Well, that's what I thought of. Like it was just going up slowly. But then I thought, it's not near like Halloween, it's not near any celebration time, but maybe it's just somebody, just shooting off fireworks just randomly or whatnot, but it was just one light. So I kept looking at it when I'm driving in the corner of my eye, and I say to my friend, "Do you see that?" And they're like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, it's just a firework." But then it stops in the middle of the sky. It just stops there for like 2 seconds, and then it just boom, it just goes across the sky and disappears within like a couple seconds, and it had like a trail of light behind it, and I was like, holy smokes, did you see that? And I like stopped my car and like pulled over to the side, and I went to my friend and I was just like, oh my god, did you see that? And they're like, yes. And I'm like, that was not a firework. And they were like, no, that wasn't. I was like, what the heck was that? And they're like, I don't know, I don't want to talk about it. And I was like, okay. I was like, I've never seen anything like that in my life. And my friend was like all scared and stuff like that. And I was like, oh my god, that was crazy. Because like this light, literally, it just went up into the sky, stopped, and then just went like just went across. Like it just went up, stopped, and then just went across. Like 2 seconds, like just bam, and it was gone. And it went towards like the north of like Vancouver, towards like the mountain range. Like it just went that direction, and it was insane. And like I just couldn't wait to get home to tell my dad. And as soon as I got home, I was so excited. I like went to my dad. I was like, Dad, 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 guess what I just saw? Guess what I just saw? And he was just like, what? I was just like, I saw something crazy in the sky. I swear I probably saw like a UFO or a spaceship or something. Like it was nuts. And he's like, "Oh, ha 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 ha! You've been smoking too much of that wacky tobacco. What are you high on? Like you hallucinating? Ha ha ha! Joke joke." And I'm like, "No, seriously, Dad. Like I wouldn't lie to you. Like I'm not high. I'm being honest. Like even if I was high, like I'm serious. Like I saw something. I'm not lying to you." And like this was like back at like 2008, so it was like during the Craigslist time when everyone was always on Craigslist. And he went on Craigslist the next morning, and on rants and raves in Vancouver, there's all these people posting and talking. Did you see the UFO last night? Did you see that weird light? Did you see that go zoom across the sky? And when I woke up, he actually came up to me and gave me this big hug and apologized. And I was like, what? And he was just like, yeah, last night I totally like thought that you were lying and that you're high or like out of it. And this morning I went on Craigslist and I see all these other people in Vancouver and Burnaby and all these other places talking about the light that you described and that they described and basically the same thing. So he's just like, obviously, there was something and I'm sorry and I should have believed you. And I'm like, I told you, Dad. And the thing that's weird is when we went to go look it up about an hour later, none of it was there. Everything, all the subject, all the posts, it was all deleted and removed. It was kind of weird. It was creepy and eerie. And yeah, that was like my first experience. And it was just like, I'll always remember that because it was just like, it just went up into the sky. And the first thought I thought was, oh, it's just a firework. And then all of a sudden it just went boom. and it had like the trail and everything, like kind of like what you think in like a movie, like you see in movies, and just it's just how everybody describes it, and it's just you don't think you would ever see something like that, and then when you finally see it, you're just like, holy smokes, people are actually telling the truth, and this is actually happening, and there's something out there that that's greater than us, or like I don't know, like was it a spaceship, was it alien beings, maybe was it a ours, I don't know, but like I saw something and it was mind blowing. That was my first experience. So my second experience came like fairly right afterwards. It would have been between the time I was 19 and 20, maybe even when I was 19. It was 2008 to 2009. I was at my buddy Lucky's house. That's his nickname, by the way, and I don't know why it was because he wasn't very lucky. But anyways, we were outside his house, and outside his house there was like an electrical box, and in front of his house there was like a park, and there was like a forest, and we were sitting on the electrical box, smoking the wacky tobacco, and it was like it was about 11 o'clock at night, 12 o'clock at night, midnight. So it was like pitch black out, but you could see like this, like the sky, you could see the clouds, you could see the stars, and it was a beautiful, silent night. You couldn't actually hear anything, and it was, we were just sitting there talking, having a good time, and then for some odd reason, I decided to bring up my first experience to my homie. So I'm sitting there, we're just chilling, talking, and I'm like, yeah, man, my first experience, I saw like this light, and it like took off, and he's like, yeah, man, no way, that's crazy. And like, we're just like, oh, yeah, da da da. And we're just sitting there talking and thinking, and then we both look up, and in the sky, this is how I'm gonna just like, all I can describe it as is basically a light flashing on super bright, like almost like an orb, but it was kind of like an off shape, like an egg, almost like how like a UFOs are almost shaped, but it was like an orb, but it was like an off shape, and it just like lit up the whole sky, just went boom, and it was like a big bright flash, and then it just went dimmed down all the way down to that point and dimmed down to like nothing. So it was like a light just went turned on, and then it was like it dimmed all the way off, like it just went down to nothing. So we just kind of like, after like we saw that, we just kind of like both looked at each other, and we're just like, what? No way. And what was weird is after the light disappeared, is you can kind of see like a black, like a pure black, almost like the same like spear orb kind of like weird shape. It was like, it's like an off shape, and it was so weird, and we both just kind of looked at each other, had goosebumps and everything. We didn't even finish doing what we were doing. We're just like, let's go inside, and we're like, yeah, let's go inside. And like, all I remember about the rest of that night is we just went inside and we went to bed, and that was it. I don't remember anything else other than seeing that, and then going inside and going to sleep, and not like ever like talking or discussing it with him. And like, it was just so weird because like I've talked to people about that before, and they're like, oh, maybe it was like a supernova, or like a sun that blew up, or a star, or something that happened, or maybe a satellite blew up, or but like, it was so weird and eerie because I remember vividly that when this lit up and kind of like dimmed down, you could see, like, I'm not like, you could see like like you could see the shape, and like it almost looked like figurines. And I remember trying to redraw it, and it like came out as like a UFO with kind of like windows, and like that's how I tried to like remember it. And it just like, that was my second experience, and like it was just really weird because it was just like a light turning on and then just slowly dimming out to nothing, and you could kind of still see something just sitting there, and it just creeped the heck out of us. Even like talking about these experiences right now are giving me heebie-jeebies and giving me goosebumps and making my hair stand up. This is such a weird feeling because I honestly like sharing my experiences, but at the same time, talking about them gives me really bad anxiety. Like right now, like you can't see it, but I'm like sweating really bad. My hands are sweating. My hair is standing up. I got goosebumps. Like I'm just drenched right now, and it's just because like what I saw, it was real. And that was my second experience. And now we're gonna go on to my third experience. So my third experience happened around the same time. I was about 20, 2009. Around the same time I was experiencing all these different things, and I was actually researching all these different subjects, and made me realize that maybe I should stop watching these videos and researching them. And what happened with my third experience is I had an old 1989 Cutlass Supreme International. I still have it at the shop. It's a black car. It's got a sunroof, really nice sunroof. And the thing was is that for some reason, out of all the times I've gotten into my car, I've never decided to look up into up into the sunroof. Sunroof. Sorry, I'm just like ah. But anyways, so I go to get into the car, and out of all the times I've gotten into it, I've never looked up. And this time I decide to look up, and for some odd reason, I just catch something out of the visual of my eye. And all I can say is, and describe it as, is you can see the black sky. Okay, you see black sky, you see clouds, and you can see the stars. So you see clouds, you can see like the sky with stars, but then there was like this black object, a black object like that I just so happened to catch. I don't think I was supposed to see it, but I just so happened to see. And the only thing that I can describe it as is if it was uh like holographic camouflage, like how they're saying like mirror, like how they're saying to make things in a visual cloaking device or whatnot, like Predator when he's standing there and it makes him kind of like go all completely cloaked and you can't see him, but you just see like the light bending. It's just like that's how I describe it. And like it was moving and it was weird because I could see the clouds, I could see the sky, I could see the stars, but then there was this black weird object just moving across, and it was like where the houses were. It was probably maybe 4 or 5 houses up, so it was maybe about, I don't know, maybe 300 feet up. I guess I'm estimating. I'm not really good with the thing, but I'm just saying that it's like probably 300, 400 feet up into the sky. It looked like it was as big as probably, and like just from the distance and everything, it was probably big as probably like maybe like a small RV or something like that. It's fairly like a small RV or something like that. But anyways, the point is that I saw something, and it was just kind of like morphing and going through, like not really morphing, but like cloaking. Like you could see the clouds and everything, and it was just going through, and like it was very, very hard to keep visually with. And then when I went to back up and like keep with it, and I went to go follow it because it was actually moving towards like Guildford Mall area. I went to go drive and to follow it. Literally within the one street to the next street over, I lost it and then saw it again and then lost it because of the cloaking and how like it was just so hard to explain, because all the other experiences was a light or something like going up and then just like like actual visually light, but this was like something completely different. Like it was actually like I wasn't supposed to see it. Like it was like kind of hidden, but not hidden. Like it was really weird. Like, and that's all I can describe it as. It's kind of like a cloaking device, kind of like Harry Potter's illusion cloak or Predator's cloak or whatever cloaking device, that the new technology of mirroring and stuff like that. And that's what it looked like to me in the sky. And that was really creepy and weird. And that was my third experience. So my fourth experience happened between the age of 20 and 21, between the years of 2009 and 2010. It was actually really weird because I kind of experienced some of it, but not all of it. So I'm going to explain what happened and then go into details about it. So all I remember is I was completely passed out sleeping, and then all of a sudden everything in my room electronical turned on. My lights turned on, my computer turned on, my printer turned on, absolutely everything turned on. And what was weird is my printer started printing, but there was no no paper in it, because I usually don't keep paper in it. And like it was started printing and all this stuff, and I woke up and I was like, what was going on? And my friend that was staying over was like, oh, don't worry about it, just turn everything off and go back to sleep, it's all good. And I like turn everything off, and I'm like, you sure, and they're like, don't worry, just go back to sleep. So then I go back to sleep, and the next morning I wake up and I look in my room, and like see that like the alarm, like usually when the lights are flashing, that the power went off was happening. So I was like, oh, I guess the power went off or whatever. And it's kind of weird because the printer never printed and a lot of that stuff never's happened before, like when the power goes off. So I decided to go downstairs and I asked my parents, did the power go out? And they go, no. And I go, what do you mean? They're like, the power didn't go out. And I'm like, okay. And I look at all the clocks downstairs and everything, and none of the things are flashing showing that the power went out. And I guess, my parents wouldn't lie to me being like, oh, the power went out and we reset the clocks and we're just going to tell them, oh, the power didn't go out. But like my parents aren't like that. It would be kind of weird if they did. But anyways, so I'm like, well, that's kind of weird. So I went back upstairs and I'm like, to my friend, I'm like, so what actually happened last night? And one thing I forgot to mention is that when I woke up and then went back to sleep, the reason why I asked my friend if it was okay to go back to sleep is because they seemed like they were really scared. But I was really out of it. Like I just woke up and I was like, oh, and I'm like, and I just went back to sleep and I didn't think of it. But like my friend was actually sitting there scared, and I should have like clued in, and they should have told me. So I go back upstairs and I'm like, what actually happened? Because that never usually happens. The power doesn't go out. You were scared now that I think of it. And I was just too tired and whatever out of it from wacky tobacco to think of it and go back to sleep. And it was like 3 in the morning or whatever the heck had happened. And they go, okay, well, I'm going to be honest with you. And this is what happened. So they're like, I was sitting on your bed, couldn't sleep. You were there completely passed out, gonzoed like I normally am. And they stated that in the sky there was a red, like a circular red orb. It was small. It came down towards the window, pretty like it came down towards the window, got bigger and bigger and bigger till it came up to the window, a big massive orb, red orb, and it flashed 3 times, she said. Boom, boom, boom. And each time it flashed, it wasn't just like a flash of light. It was like a scan. Like it was like a zoom, zoom, zoom of like the room. Sorry for the sound effects. Like but you know what I mean. Like it's just like the rectangle of like the window in the room. It just kind of like did like a red light that scanned. She said of like a grid of the whole room 3 times. And as soon as it did that, it took back off. It just took off into the middle of the sky, back up into the sky, got smaller and smaller to the point that it disappeared. As soon as it disappeared, she said that's when everything in my room turned on, and that's when I woke up. And that's when I woke up, and everything in my room was on, printers printing, and I didn't think anything of it. And yeah, so that was my fourth experience, and like I always feel like it was insane because that person has never came back ever. That was the end of our friendship. They're like, I'm never coming back. That was the end of that, and I experienced half of it, and it makes me wonder what the heck happened. Because like, if something actually came down, that was what they stated, and scanned my room 3 times, what are they looking for? What are they doing? Or what's going on? And like, is that the government? Is it aliens? Is it a natural thing? Some sort of nature thing? I don't know. But it really creeped me out to the point that after that, I stopped. I stopped looking into the videos. I stopped researching. I stopped Googling. I stopped YouTubing everything. And like, if you don't believe me, like it's on you. Like you look up. No, how many people look up into the sky at night? Not too many people. How many people just sit there and look? Not too many people. We're too busy in our own days and lives, worried about our own stuff, to look up into the sky and see what's going on around us. And when you start looking into things and researching things, and you start looking up, I've heard like you start looking into things and uh, you know, they tell you, or they make contact, or there's some sort of thing to let you know to stop. And that's where I stopped, and that was 2010, when I was 21. And I haven't had an experience since then, except for my fifth experience. But that was kind of like not really like it was an experience, but it wasn't profound. It wasn't impacting. It was just kind of like haha. And my fifth experience was I was at Cultus Lake, or no, not Cultus, but Harrison with my sister, my dad, my mom, and her boyfriend. And my sister and her boyfriend and me went for a walk, and we went to the park, and we're sitting there, and there's like slides and stuff, and we're all laying back on the ground. And I just say jokingly, what are the odds we see some lights in the sky, like a UFO or something moving? And in Harrison, compared to where we live right now, the sky is completely clear. So where I live now, you look up into the sky, you might see a few stars. But in Harrison, it's so clear, the night sky, that you can absolutely see like it's mind blowing the amount of stars and things that you can see in the sky. And if you just sit there and watch, you'll see satellites, lights, satellites blinking, going across this like space or sky or atmosphere or whatever you want to call it. And you go, okay, that's really cool. Like, oh, you at first you see a satellite or blinking or something, you're like, oh, it's a UFO or a spaceship, but no, it's a satellite. But then you start looking and you see other lights that are like stars, but they aren't stars. Like there are stars, but there's other lights in the sky, and you watch them, and they look like they're moving, and then you realize they stop, and then they move a different direction, and then they stop, and then they move a different direction, and then they stop, and then they move a different direction. And you can see this visually with your bare naked eye if you sit there long enough at night and look up into the sky. I like it just blew my mind, and that was my fifth experience. And I'm just like, look at that, and they're just like, there's a lot going on around us. I believe that there's a lot more going on. Like there could be a whole intergalactic force going on, like that we don't even know about. So, anyways, yeah. And that fifth experience, by the way, was when I was like 28. So it was like 7 years later. So like I haven't had anything happen after I stopped researching and looking into things. So those were my experiences, my honest personal experiences with lights or UFOs or weird things in the sky and around. It was just mind blowing that I actually never thought in my life I would actually see things in the sky. Not only once, but a few times, and then experience that other experience with my friend waking up and like that just like I hate talking about it, but people need to hear about that. And I've never actually thought about making a video about it until you were all like, "Yes, tell me your UFO experiences." And the thing is that I don't know. I've had experiences too with there was like a sixth experience, but I don't consider it UFO experience. It was kind of like maybe possibly a being experience. So if you want me to do another video like this talking about possibly like experiences with ghosts as well as interdimensional beings or aliens, let me know, because I've also had experiences with supposedly ghosts as well as I guess like a being one time. I don't know what happened exactly. I can just explain it in a video, and you guys can either decide what happened or didn't happen or whatever. So please leave your thoughts and opinions in the comments down below. Please like this video as well as share and subscribe for more. If you want me to talk about the ghosts and like other experiences, let me know in the comments below, as well as like the video to let me know. And I'll just show you a little piece of proof and evidence right here. Look at this photo right here. That's an orb with Chomper. I was at a cemetery, so I've definitely had experiences in the other paranormal activities and stuff like that. So if you want to hear my experiences there, let me know in the comments below. Also, let me know your experiences in the comments below. I'd love to hear if you have seen any of these things that I've described in my experiences, or if you've seen anything differently. I would love to read and hear, and maybe if you want, I can do another video reading your experiences as well and being like, wow, that was crazy, and responding to them too. I think that'd be pretty cool. So thanks for watching, everyone. Like I said, just take some time, look up into the sky. You'll be surprised on what you see. Thank you, everyone, for the love and support. Take care. God bless you all. Peace out.